Melalui Prakarsa 6.1 yang telah ditetapkan sebagai program umum Dewan Pengurus Nasional IAI periode 2018-2022, IAI siap berkarya mengawal perekonomian bangsa ini menuju Indonesia Emas 2045.
Saya sangat mendukung rencana IAI untuk mempercepat program sertifikasi agar para akuntan di negara kita memiliki kreativitas, inovasi, keterampilan, dan memiliki daya saing, dan sekali lagi dalam rangka mendukung pengembangan ekosistem kita yang lebih akuntabel, lebih efisien, goal-oriented, dan inovatif.
Tanggung jawab itu terwujud melalui Chartered Accountant Indonesia sebagai identitas akuntan profesional Indonesia dan telah mendapat pengakuan kualitas secara global. Prakarsa 6.1 berisi 6 langkah aksi dengan satu tujuan strategis untuk memperkuat peran IAI dalam meningkatkan kepercayaan masyarakat terhadap entitas bisnis dan publik dengan menyiapkan akuntan profesional berintegritas siap menghadapi masa depan. IAI melaksanakan tugas dan tanggung jawabnya menyusun standar akuntansi keuangan dan standar profesi, melaksanakan ujian sertifikasi, serta aktivitas keprofesian lain mengacu kepada International Federation of Accountants dan Chartered Accountant Worldwide. IAI for Society dijalankan untuk memberikan manfaat yang semakin besar bagi masyarakat, serta untuk mendekatkan profesi kepada publik. Founding Fathers IAI telah menetapkan 2 tujuan pendirian IAI. IAI dibangun untuk mempertinggi mutu pendidikan akuntan dan meningkatkan kualitas pekerjaan akuntan Indonesia. IAI menguasai perubahan, menyiapkan masa depan.
Siapkan masa depan, jaga akuntabilitas. IAI mengabdi, bersatu dan berbakti untuk Ibu Pertiwi. Selalu berkarya dan jaga integritas Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia. langkahmu, gerakmu, hadirkan semangatmu, hatimu dan mimpimu, satukanlah dalam asamu. Tunjukkan baktimu, kuatkan imanmu, raihlah prestasimu. Satukan tujuan, siapkan masa depan, jaga akuntabilitas. IAI mengabdi, bersatu dan berbakti untuk Ibu Pertiwi. Selalu berkarya dan jaga integritas. Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia, Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang dalam acara puncak IAI APA Fest 2020, Scanning the Horizon, Embracing the Future. Setelah 3 kali penyelenggaraan yang sukses, IAI pada tahun ini menggelar APA Fest secara virtual. Babak ini merupakan babak yang paling dinantikan oleh seluruh peserta kompetisi APA Fest 2020.
Bagaimana para akuntan profesional itu bisa memberikan suatu percepatan, outcome based, dan juga efisiensi dan bisa meningkatkan produktivitas.
IFAC, through its network of member PAOs and other partner organizations, is the voice of the professional accountancy organization.
Berharap seluruh profesi akuntansi memiliki ikrar untuk terus meningkatkan profesionalitas, kompetensi, dan integritasnya.
Tantangan akuntan muda pada saat ini tidaklah kecil, karena harus bersaing dalam konteks global. Maka itu harus meningkatkan hard skill dan soft skill, dan mulailah untuk membangun networking. Hal ini bisa dilakukan dengan aktif dalam organisasi profesi seperti IAI ini, mengikuti konferensi dan seminar, serta kompetisi ilmiah.
Pada generasi muda akuntan Indonesia yang menjadi peserta di APA Fest, saya berharap agar para akuntan muda juga mampu menguasai teknologi. Jangan pernah berhenti belajar. Manfaatkan kesempatan untuk memperdalami dunia keilmuan dan pengalaman berbisnis, sehingga kemampuan kalian dapat terasa.
Jadi di sini profesi akuntan juga harus mendukung BUMN yang lebih transparan dan bertanggung jawab kepada negara dan masyarakat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 4th Finance and Business 2030 event part of the Building Resilience series.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the IAI, CPA Australia, IAPI, and ALPHA joint webinar, Small Medium Practice, How Digitalization Bring Impact, Challenge, and Opportunity During Post-Pandemic. I'm Monica Nabilia, and I'll be your host for today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to greet IAI Council Member, Bapak Isnaini Ahdiat, IAI Executive Director, Ibu Elizarni Husin, CPA Australia Country Manager and Chief Representative Indonesia, Bapak Reza Hafiz, IAI Director of Membership and Partnership Service, Bapak Edward Tanujaya, AFA Executive Director, Bapak Auki Pratama, who also will be our moderator for today. Our panelists, Ms. Katie Waller, Head of Public Practice and SME Public Practice and Professional Standard from CPA Australia, Bapak Saiful Ali, Member of Certification Board of Professional Accountants IAI, and Bapak Handoko Tomo, IAPI Board Member, Chair of IAPI SMP Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, to open this joint webinar, we would like to invite CPA Australia Country Manager and Chief Representative Indonesia, Bapak Reza Hafiz, to deliver an opening remarks from CPA Australia. To Bapak Reza Hafiz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Monica. Very good afternoon, fellow professional accountants. It is a great pleasure to meet you today. First and foremost, I'd like to convey a special gratitude to the Indonesia Institute of Chartered Accountants, IAI, Bapak Isnaini Ahdiat, Ibu Elizarni Husin, Bapak Edward Tanujaya, Mbak Monica, and the rest of the team from IAI, and also the Indonesia Institute of Certified Public Accountant, or IAPI, Bapak Denny Purhadianto, Bapak Rudi Prastyo, and also the rest of the team. From ASEAN Federation of Accountant, ALPHA, Bapak Auki Pratama, and last but not least, our team from CPA Australia. I'd like to also greet our three panelists, Bapak Saiful Ali, Mr. Saiful Ali from IAI, Ms. Katie Waller from CPA Australia, Mr. Handoko Tomo from IAPI, and Mr. Auki Pratama as our facilitator of moderator of the session today. Thank you for your support and to share your professional insight on today's webinar's topic. Not forgetting a special thank you note to all fellow professional accountants out there, CA Indonesia members, CPA Indonesia members, CPA Australia members, our advisory committee members, other stakeholders who we cannot address one by one. Thank you very much for participating in today's session. Please allow me to briefly introduce you to CPA Australia. CPA Australia stands for Certified Practicing Accountant, is a finance, accounting, and business professional with a specific qualification. Being a CPA is a mark of high professional competence. It indicates a soundness in depth, breadth, and quality of accountancy knowledge. Our core services to members include education, training, technical support, and advocacy as well. CPA Australia works together with employees, members, local international bodies to represent the views and concerns of the profession to governments, regulators, industries, academia, and also the general public. I'm very excited to kick off our first joint webinar ever. This is a four-way joint session with IAI, IAPI, and AFA, and also CPA Australia. And the CPA Australia sees IAI, IAPI, and AFA as our strategic partners where we can learn and at the same time to provide our support in various ways in regards to development of accountant society in Indonesia and as well in the region. Today's session indicates that CPA Australia, IAI, IAPI, and AFA share common and strong interest in the advancement of the profession of accountancy, especially in relation to the maintaining and strengthening the professional and educational standards in all sectors, as well in the internationalization of the profession. Last, thank you very much and highly appreciate for the opportunity. I'm very excited to listen for our panelists to share all the knowledge. I hope you enjoy the program. I believe this will be a very interesting session. Stay safe and stay well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bapak Reza, for the opening remarks. Now, I would like to invite Bapak Isnaini Ahdiat to deliver the opening remarks from Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia. To Pak Isnaini, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Monica. Selamat siang, Bapak Ibu semua. Let me deliver the speech from this Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia. Honorable Mr. Saiful Ali, my friend, member of Certification Board of Professional Accountants, IAI, Ms. Kedi Waller, Head of Public Practice and SME, Public Practice and Professional Standards, CPA Australia, Mr. Handoko Tomo, Ketua Komite SMP IAPI, Oki Pratama, Executive Director of AFA, as a facilitator at this session, our Executive Director of IAI, Ibu Elizarni Hussein, and Pak Edward Tanujaya as Director of IAI, ladies and gentlemen. Even though in the midst of the restrictions caused by this COVID-19 pandemic, we were given the opportunity to hold IAI CPA Australia joint webinar, small medium practice, how digitalization bring impact, challenge, and opportunity during post-pandemic. As National Council of IAI, the largest professional associations in Indonesia, I'd like to welcome all the participants in this webinar and discussion. This is an important and very relevant webinar in order to discuss post-COVID-19 problems, as well as find solutions for SMPs in Indonesia. This is also very good collaborations from IAI and CPA Australia, especially since both organizations are members of IFAC and have a membership pathway agreement between each other, which was signed on November 27, 2020. Regarding today's collaborations event, I believe both institutions can play an important role in rebuilding the financial sectors that was devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 was a very challenging year for most of us, which altered the dynamics of global economy. There is an unprecedented level of uncertainty about the economy, future earnings, and many other inputs that represent fundamental elements of financial reporting. COVID-19 pandemic also drastically affected the Indonesian economy, including suppressing the MSME business, which has been one of the pillars of the Indonesian economy, whereas MSMEs are usually able to survive several financial crises that hit Indonesia before. Despite the travel restrictions and physical distancing policies implemented worldwide, the use of technology enables us to learn and reshape our organizations and creates the need to adapt to these new normal situations. Accountants will continue to contribute to the economy and post-COVID recovery. It is important for preparers and auditors to engage in discussions assessing the impact early on in the preparations and evaluations of financial reporting. IAI is actively involved in efforts to create transparency and accountability for handling COVID-19 in Indonesia, as Indonesia's government has allocated almost 700 trillions for dealing with pandemic impact. And as part of our initiative 6.1, IAI as an agents of trust will always take the lead on the effort to increase good governance and build trust in the Indonesian economy. This step is increasingly urgent after the pandemic and in the digital economy era. IAI has developed IT support to support the activities of the organization and its members. The development of this information technology finds its relevance when organizations have to deal with the crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. As part of the SMP, there are currently 611 accounting service offices, which we call Kantor Jasa Akuntan or KJA, spread throughout Indonesia. Through digital literacy, KJA can be optimized to support the rise of MSMEs from adversity after the COVID-19 pandemic. In general, we believe that trust and governance can encourage innovation while maintaining the principle of integrity and good ethics, of course. And understanding digital and IT is a prerequisite for accountants in ensuring that the digital world can still provide various benefits while remaining safe and comfortable in life. In the new normal and post-COVID-19 era, we have to adapt and get ready for a new phase and new role of finance and accounting for organizations, as exemplified with the title of today's webinar. Once again, as IAI National Council member, I'm delighted with the collaborations between IAI and CPA Australia, and we are ready to build a more strategic collaborations with CPA Australia in the future. Have a prosperous webinar. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you.
Thank you, Pak Isnaini Ahdiat, for the opening remarks from Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia. And now I would like to invite Ibu-Ibu and Bapak-Bapak to have a group picture. Could you please turn on your camera because our team will do the screenshot. Ibu Kedi? Okay, so everyone is on cam. I'll count to 3. So the team could do the screenshot. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now we will continue our program. Yeah, for discussion today, the material will be presented by the panelists. We have Ms. Kedi Waller, the head of Public Practice and SME, Public Practice and Professional Standard, CPA Australia. We also have Bapak Saiful Ali, member of Certification Board of Professional Accountants IAI, and Bapak Handoko Tomo, IAPI Board Member, Chair of IAPI SMP Committee. The session will be led by AFA Executive Director, Bapak Auki Pratama. Before we pass the session to Bapak Auki Pratama, let me read a brief CV of Auki Pratama. Auki Pratama is the Executive Director of ASEAN Federation of Accountants, an umbrella body for the professional accountancy organization of the ASEAN member states. He has more than 10 years of experience working with regional and international stakeholders on different capacity building projects and initiatives, focusing on development of the ASEAN accountancy profession. Prior to joining AFA, Auki worked with Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants and the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard Boards on various standard setting projects, including implementation of IFRS in Indonesia, Auki is a member of CPA Australia and holds master degree from University of Melbourne. Now we let Bapak Auki to host the session.
Yes, thank you Monica for the kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Bapak dan Ibu, Assalamualaikum. Selamat siang. Good afternoon from Jakarta, Indonesia. My name is Oki Pratama, Executive Director of the ASEAN Federation of Accountants, and I will be your moderator today. So on behalf of AFA, I would like to welcome once again all of you to our webinar today, jointly organized by AFA, IAI, IAPI, and CPA Australia. Now, our topic today, small, medium practice, how digitalization bring impact, challenge, and opportunity during and post-pandemic. Now, this reflects our collective interest towards the development of SMPs, particularly ASEAN SMPs. Now, for AFA, this is one of our priorities. I mean, reflected by the publication of our AFA Research Report 2020 last December, and also introduction of our ASEAN SMP webinar series earlier this year. Now, let me introduce you to our first speaker for the day, Katie Waller. As Monica has mentioned, Katie is the head of public practice and SME at CPA Australia. And with her team, Katie is responsible for the development, servicing, representation, and also compliance of CPA Australia public practice members. Previously, Katie was CPA Australia Senior Policy Advisor for Financial Planning, responsible for developing policy positions on financial planning and credit issues. So welcome, Katie. It's good to see you again after our AFA sharing session earlier this year.
It's good to see you too, Oki, and thank you for inviting me along today. I'm just going to start the session and share my screen.
Sure, and while you do that, Katie, just one note to our speakers. So speakers, I will turn off my camera. So when you see me on screen, that means you have 3 minutes to conclude your presentation. So without further ado, let me pass the session to you, Katie.
Can I just confirm, Oki, can you see my screen, my slides from before?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. And thank you very much for having me along today. And it's a really great topic. And it's one that is not only important to AFA, but CPA and IFAC, as I'll touch on later on. So I'm going to talk about a few things today. I'm going to give you some insight into some research that CPA Australia conducted in 2019. So just before we really got into the pandemic and the impact of COVID, give us a little bit of contrast as to the importance of the issue at that time. I'll talk about some of the initiatives that IFAC have been taking upon to actually support SMPs more globally as well. And then I'll talk about some tips and some strategies that we've been preparing and providing to our members in this space to help them along their technology digitization strategy. So just before we start, I just wanted to put a bit of a context to this thing. And I think one thing we all know is that there is a constant change. So it doesn't matter what we're being impacted and what the influence is, be it technology, be it the environment we're working in, be it economics, be it the changes in client needs and demands. And I think one of the things that we need to understand and to support and help our members in this space and SMPs is how to actually meet that constant need of change. And technology really came to the forefront in 2020 with the impact of COVID and things like remote working, lockdowns, and yet having a high demand for SME client needs. So I think, it's really important that we understand what the technology needs are. It's really important that we go along this technology strategy, because without that, you will not have a foundation to really have a sustainable and growing SMP practice. So the My Fair, My Future research was, as I said, a piece of research we undertook in 2019. And the reason we did this is because we wanted to understand what the future opportunities, but also the challenges we're facing members, predominantly in the Australian market, who are providing public accounting services. And so we undertook a significant research piece in both qualitative and quantitative, talking to not only accounting professionals, but importantly their clients. So both small business clients and individual clients, to really understand what their needs are and what they see their needs in the future. And then again with the accounting professionals to see what the opportunities they see, but also the challenges. And when we went through this process, and as you can see from the details on the slide, it was quite in depth in terms of the quantitative, but then the qualitative and really having those focus groups and one-on-one interviews, was that there was 4 key themes that really came through. So we had incorporating advisory, and we talk a little bit about this more generally in the accounting profession. How can we be more proactive in supporting SMPs to be more advisory based with their SME clients? Looking to specialize, so, looking at niches and how you can differentiate yourself in a market that you do have a number of competitors. Doing better business, and that's just about all the things you have to do on a day-to-day business, but how can you do it more efficiently and effectively to free up resources within your practice and do more value-added services, but importantly, leveraging technology. This was a really strong theme that came through in our research, and it came through in a multitude of different ways. The first being that members actually see technology is one of the biggest challenges within their practice. So when we started to unpick that and actually understand what the challenges were, one of the biggest challenges is there is so much information in this space. How do you actually start? If you're not a technology expert, what are the things I need to know? There was concerns around starting along a journey and then finding out it's not the right fit for the practice, or also investing in a technology strategy and finding out that it quickly becomes redundant because it's not meeting the needs of the clients or the practice or the future vision of where that practice wants to go. And so we know that from an Australian context, and we know from a research that I'll talk about from IFAC later, that technology is quite a daunting area for SMPs, and it's really important that we provide that guidance and support to help them unpick that. Just as they understood that, or just as they said it was one of the biggest areas of challenges for their practice, they also spoke about it being the biggest opportunity for their business. And you can see the number of reasons on the screen here. We know that it adds automation, so it can free up resources. It can help with your engagement with clients. It can support your regulatory and compliance obligations. It brings that efficiency into your business. So we know that technology is vitally important in terms of having a progressive practice. But as I spoke about before, we also know that it's important to actually be more flexible and responsive to your environment. Now, we've seen all around the globe through the impact of COVID, we've had lockdowns and we've had people forced into remote working. And yet we also know during those periods, we've had peak demand from advice and needs from their SME clients. And what we saw was that members who didn't have a strong technology strategy actually struggled to actually set up and work remotely. It could be because they didn't have the technology infrastructure to be able to support their team to work remotely, or it could be because they didn't have their information readily available through the cloud, for example, that they were not able to access client files and information to be able to get the information they needed to support their clients. So we know that it's not really important to actually help with that progressive, future-focused, like I said, business of the future, but it's important to actually be adaptable and ready to respond to different changes and your circumstances. So we've been doing quite a lot in this space, and a few more of the insights from our research. When we spoke about what we saw as the number one sort of areas of technology having influence on their practice, cloud definitely came through as one of the strongest themes, as you can see from that research. And again, this is an area that not all members understand well, and it can be quite daunting if you haven't really started on that journey. Another shift that we're seeing is the subscription as software as a subscription. So moving away from traditionally buying a program or a software piece and then having to do the updates yourself and purchase those, and then looking for that software to potentially become outdated, to moving to a model where you're actually subscribing to a software and all those updates are coming through with those features. And that actually helps, again, with that efficiency piece, but also ensuring that your software can remain current and meeting the needs of your practice. Now, we can see that as the current impact that data analytics and artificial intelligence really aren't having at the moment a big impact and from what members are seeing. But what we can see is looking ahead. So if we asked them to look 5 years into the future, what did they see those challenges to, or those influences to be? And you can see that cloud is definitely still up there. It's the number one sort of influence. Software as a subscription is number 2. But data analytics and artificial intelligence are key and really coming through. And we know that's a lot about looking at the information you collect from your clients, be it individuals or SMEs, and being able to understand what that data is, to use that to make recommendations and really provide those advisory and value-added services to your clients. So understanding the data and being able to collect that in an efficient way and having means to actually review that and pull it apart is really going to be important, especially in supporting your SME clients in the future. Now, we spoke a little bit about cybersecurity as well. And, as professional accountants, they are a target for cybersecurity and data threats. We know that the type of information that you hold and the personal nature of that really means that your clients are targets for these types of activities. So when we asked members if they were concerned about this, you can see they're very concerned. The potential hit of a cyber attack on their business can have significant ramifications. Now, what we can see is when we talk to members about their cyber needs is that there's not a strong understanding. They know cyber is a threat. They know that there's a potential risk to their business, but there's a little bit in there, it's not going to happen to me, or I'm not really sure how it could impact my business. And so whilst there has been some steps by practices to really think about it and put in some risk strategies, a lot of them are thinking having their outsourced software, for example, as a way of actually mitigating that risk. So one tip that I would say is if you are using an outsourced service provider for your technology, really go through and read the terms and conditions of that end user license agreement. And what you actually might find is when you start to pull that detail apart, that the actual software provider has a lot of responsibility they're putting back on you. So risks that may come through, challenges, potential hacks into the system, you'll actually find that there'll be a lot of obligations and responsibilities that likely sit back with you as the user of that software. And you may not have the level of protection that you may think through that. The other thing to understand is if you do have a cyber attack, what you should actually do. And we know that quite often the response may be to bring in your technology support and reinstall your backup files so you can get back up and running and actually make sure you can go back and servicing your clients. But what we know is that actually then erases any traces of people coming into your system. And it means when you go and have the experts to come in to actually see how they've come in and what data they may have actually accessed, you've actually wiped that trail. It also leaves you exposed that if that hacker comes back in or that cyber threat comes back, that you actually won't actually know what pathway they've come through, so you won't actually be able to stop that. So, it's really important to not only think about those protections that you need to have in place to stop any potential cyber attack and, all the data securities and the systems and processes your staff also need to know about, but you also need to take the time to understand what you should do if you do suffer a cyber attack. Really good idea to talk to some experts, your peers or even some professional indemnity experts, because they can really take you through that process and understanding what you should do in that circumstance. So that's a little bit about the research and what we found when we talked to members about what their experiences are in that technology space. I'm going to touch now on a little bit around the IFAC space and what they've been doing. Now, I actually sit as a technical support to the CPA and CANS or Chartered Accountants member on IFAC SMP committee. And digitalisation is a real focus and really around helping SMPs have that practice transformation. Now, in 2018, IFAC actually undertook a massive piece of research, and they had over 6,000 respondents from over 150 countries from SMP respondents. And you can see the themes that came through are very similar to the themes that we found in the My Fair, My Future report. So even though the Australian research we had, it was only, like I said, focused back to our members, those themes are representative of what's being seen by or felt by SMPs across the globe. So regardless of where you are and where you're practicing, technology and advisory, really key areas. In that piece of research, again, the respondents said that technology was a massive challenge for them in terms of their business and how they could develop that as a strategy. Interestingly, though, even though it's identified as a significant challenge and an area that members know or professional accountants know they need to actually invest in, it still does represent a very small amount of their overall expenses or where they're looking to invest in their practice. So, for an area that is that important, it is really a thing that you need to think about in terms of your budgets and how you're going to support that strategy going forward. We also know that with the backdrop of 2020 and 2019 COVID and even ongoing to now, that the capacity and the resources of a lot of SMPs has been really impacted negatively. And that makes it harder to have that investment in that technology strategy. So it's really important when we go through these tips going forward, you're thinking about how you're setting yourselves up now, but also where you want to take your practice in the future. And as you can see, another thing that came through was the ongoing focus and the impact of technology, well beyond, and like we said, we're seeing it even coming through now, and we know it's going to be ongoing for many, many years to come. So there's a number of resources that IFAC have available, and there's really great information. There's a range of videos, there's a range of different articles on there. But in particular, IFAC recently launched their practice transformation roadmap. And this actually goes through and talks about all these different areas we've been identifying: advisory, talent acquisition, technology, and it really provides a range of guidance and steps for SMPs to how to think about implementing that as part of their business strategy, and tips and sort of a checklist to take you along that path. Now, one of those chapters, chapter 2, is all about leveraging technology. I believe these slides are going to be shared, and these are direct links into the IFAC resources, or you can go straight in and you'll be able to find these. So I'd really encourage you that if you haven't seen these resources, to go and have a look. They're really great information, and like I said, they're available to all SMPs because it's really about supporting the profession globally on this pathway. I'm just going to go through and talk about some tips and some guidance, and I will profess I'm not your technology expert, but we've been doing a lot of research and engaging with experts who are to support members and along their technology and digitalisation strategy. And these are some of the things we've been sharing with our members in Australia. So you really want to start by understanding what's working well within your business. Do you need a complete transformation when you're looking at your technology strategy? Have you only got some areas that are not working well and you really need to think about it? Really taking a moment to think about what those opportunities may be. Need to think about the applications that you have. Are you actually getting everything you can out of them? For example, Microsoft, we know that has a lot of great functionality, but there's a lot of apps and add-ons that you can put into that quite simply could be implemented and make a significant difference back to your practice. When you're going through this, we want to think about what are the challenges? What are the things that are working well in your business? What are the areas that could be improved? What are the areas that you are looking to actually change as part of your pathway going forward? Is there an opportunity for you to look at tasks that require a lot of manual input or lower end work, and you could look to have some digitization or automation around that, and that would free up resources within your practice to have those more value-added services, advisory-based things and things that your clients will be looking for in terms of that future thinking advisory. Are there different solutions you could be looking to actually support you? So, is your CRM working effectively? Is it helping you engage with your clients and understanding where you are in terms of their advice needs and their service needs? And do you have things in place to help automate that? For example, invoicing, sending out your terms of engagement, any of those sort of documentations and processes that have to be done repetitively. Have you thought about how you could actually implement a solution to do that automatically within your advice process? Then think about also how can you make that technology used within your practice to make it more valuable for your clients and also your staff. And I think one of the things to think about when you're going on your technology strategy and when you're starting to actually think about these opportunities is to engage your team. Your team are going to have a wealth of knowledge and ideas. They work within your systems every day. They use your technology every day, or your systems that you're using at the moment. And they will have great ideas about potential changes, some things that could be looked to be automated, or areas of efficiency that may actually, like I said, free up some of those resources so you can invest more back into your technology strategy. You want to do a bit of a stock take and think about where you are now. So, when you're looking at your hardware, do a full inventory. What's old, what's new, what do you need to replace? Your software, is it meeting all the advice and services that you're providing to your clients, or do you have gaps in there that you're trying to manually fill at the moment? What are your clients' needs? Are they technology savvy? Are they looking for more progressive things? For example, we're seeing a bit of a move to, and also forced through COVID, but wanting to have virtual meetings. Is there an opportunity where you could using systems where you're booking online meetings and recording those meetings, and they could then become your client file notes, and you're looking to move away from some of that paper-based documentation and having that all automated? Think about your technology management and what type of resources you're using both internally and externally to actually service that. Is it actually taking up a lot of your resources to actually support a redundant or a very heavily manual process? Or is there an opportunity for you to look to people within your firm and get them to become more directors within your firm, technology directors, and helping you identify some of those potential areas? Think about not only your current projects and what you're doing, but, again, we spoke about where you want your business to be in 5 years. So if you're going along that path, you want to make sure your technology strategy is thinking and being progressive. I spoke before about that fear of investing in a technology strategy that quickly becomes redundant. And that's why it's important to think about the planning. So, looking at those future projects and where you want to take your business. And then, as I said, look at your strengths, weaknesses, and your areas of opportunity. And that's, again, where your team is going to be invaluable. As I said, they live your processes and use your systems day in, day out. They are going to have a wealth of knowledge to help you along this process. Now, just talking about some of the things that would be really impactful within your business, our cloud-based technology. We know that the benefits of this is that, you have ability to be able to work from anywhere. You have readily access to your clients' files. You can support them. Your staff can work from anywhere, and it gives you more flexibility and adaptability within a changing environment. As I said, though, make sure you take the time to understand the different opportunities and challenges. Talk to your peers. Ask them what's working, what's not working. And again, read those end user license agreements, because it's really important to understand what your risks are and your opportunities are, and also what you need to think about that may not be covered by that software provider. Practice management software, again, it's really important in terms of building that client relationship, your CRM, and understanding all that information, but also in terms of your efficiency within your practice. So if unfortunately one of your staff members become unwell, having all that information in the CRM of the advice that's been provided, the documentation, where that client's work is at, means if you have a centralized record system like this, you can pick that up and continue that excellent service back to your client. Process automation, and we spoke about this a little bit already, but it's really about looking at things that you're doing repetitively within your business or that are that lower end value work, and where you could use automation to really improve that efficiency and free up resources within your business, but also look at it from a compliance perspective as well. Having some of those automated processes will ensure you're meeting some of those professional accounting obligations and help with your documentation and client record keeping. And data security, I cannot stress this enough. It's really important as professional accountants to protect your clients' information. We know that because of that personal information that you actually hold, that you can be easy targets. So it's really important for not only the reputation of your practice, but also for the reputation as you as a professional, and also protecting your clients, that you take the time to understand those potential areas. Sorry about that. And my last point is understand the capabilities before you go along your technology strategy. So when you're thinking about your future pathway where you want to go, think about what's working well and where you want to take that. Try before you buy. If you have an existing vendor that's helping with your software, get them to come back in and resell that to you, and maybe even talk to you about opportunities and programs that you didn't know existed within your existing software. Monitor your progress and think about actually having someone within your business become that director. Technology can be a challenging area, and it doesn't have to be someone in your practice that has a strong technology understanding or background. But if you make that one person accountable and they start to document and understand how things are going, you'll have a much more focused look on what's actually happening with the development of your technology strategy and where your opportunities and challenges are going to be going forward. So just in closing, it's a really important strategy for you to think about in terms of the future success of your practice, and it's worth the time to invest in that, but make sure you're going through and doing the right steps first. Don't rush into it, making a decision without going through and doing your checklist. Thanks, Oki.
Yes, thank you, Katie, for that presentation and also excellent time management. I think that 4 key themes of incorporating advisory, specialization, doing better business, and also leveraging technology are all excellent advices for SMPs in Indonesia and also region. And I think that those are things that I believe they need to consider. Now, participants, I would like to remind you to submit your questions on our topic via the Q&A function, and the speakers and I will try to address them later during the Q&A. And please kindly submit your other questions. So if you have any general operational question, you can use the chat function for that. Now, I would like now to invite our second speaker, Bapak Saiful Ali. Bapak Saiful is a member of the Certification Board of Professional Accountants of the Institute of Indonesia Chartered Accountants. He is also the Director of Finance of Gajah Mada University and is a lecturer in the accounting program, Faculty of Economics and Business at the university. Now, in 2019, he published a book on the impact of the 4.0 industrial revolution towards accounting education in Indonesia. So I think it's a relevant topic to our discussion today. Selamat datang, Pak Saiful. So we look forward to your sharing. Silakan, Pak. The next 20 minutes are yours, Pak.
Thank you very much, Pak Auki, for your kind introduction. Please let me share screen. All right. Could you see the screen that I'm sharing now?
Yes, all good, Pak.
Okay, thank you very much. So today's topic, I'm going to talk about small medium enterprises digital transformation during and post-pandemic times as the webinar's theme for this webinar. And the outline of my presentations, I'm going to talk a little bit about the post-pandemic, the new normal, and talking about small medium enterprises. How about the pandemic, how pandemic give impact to the SMEs, talking about the IT investment trend globally and in Indonesia, and also the main topic of today's webinar is about digital transformation. What are the benefits of digital transformation, the inhibiting factors and challenges, and I would like to close my presentation with the role of accountants in this situation. So if you look at this is the timeline of economic situation during we start COVID in 2020, right? We see the COVID started, and then we have problem with the economic getting slowing down, and then we experienced a recession in 2020, and then now hopefully in 2020, in the beginning of this year, and hopefully we are entering the next normal. So in this situation, the focus of the business is no longer about business resiliency, but also talking about how to prepare for the future enterprises. So it's interesting that we can see how technology can provide as a leverage for the business in preparing for the next or the new normal times. This is where we are entering the new normal. We experienced a recession in 2020. It's about -2%. Now in 2021, we hope, this is a bit optimistic, I think, maybe around 5% our GDP growth in Indonesia. So hopefully things getting better. Now, according to McKinsey and Company, in the next normal, there are some trends that we need to pay attention. So there's a trend in regard to the social contract. We got problem with reduced privacy, and then society and consumers change because of the pandemic, right? The way consumer spend their money also changed. Then it is closely related to the technology and innovation. We've got accelerate use of online channels and digitization of business. And some other things like changing in work habit. We've got problem with supply chains and also related to the government and regulation. But I'd like to focus on these 2 points here: society and consumer changes, and then how the technology and innovation may help business in this changes situation. With regard to online shopping, this is a survey from Nielsen Global Online Shopping Study into 2020. Before the COVID-19 pandemics, only 9% consumers spend their money through online channels. But since the beginning of the pandemic, there's a dramatically increased number of consumers shopping online for the first time, which is 27%. So this is to give idea, that things has changed, and then because of that, then the business in this context, small medium enterprises must also prepare, how to address these changes, this changing situation. Now let's talk about small and medium enterprises. As Pak Isnani mentioned in the beginning of our webinar, that SMEs always been one of the big pillar in economy in any countries in the world. Yeah, we can see globally, for example, small and medium-sized organizations represent more than 90% of all business, employing 60 to 70% out of the workforce, and represent 55% of GDP worldwide. In Indonesia, we already know that we got a lot of MSME, micro, small, medium enterprise. There are about close to 60 million. This is a bit outdated data. I'll show you the latest one. This is 2016, and it's employed 97% of total employment in Indonesia. So it's a very big roles played by the SME in Indonesia. And then the characteristic of SME, as we can see, there's a lack of scale in terms of economic scale. They are risky business, so anything bad happens in the environment. Now in the COVID pandemic, COVID-19, we got disruption because of the pandemic. Then it's becoming riskier for them, and most of them family owned. They got advantage in terms of personalization, and then they may offer products that are physically and culturally close to the customer. So it's a local business. Now, the pandemic, it's a very, give a very big impact toward the MSME. We can see like more than 50%, there's a data, for 54% of small business in the US affected by the pandemic. Risk and near risk term category, 90% of MSMEs in Indonesia is disrupted by the pandemic. So this is in Indonesia, so like 90%. And there are a lot of problems coming from pandemic faced by MSMEs, lack of operational cash flow, drop in demand for product and services. Business is closed because there's a restriction, a physical restriction, lockdown, for example, reduction of opportunities to meet new clients. This is obvious, and then issues with changing business strategies. This is related to the changing environment. All right. Now there's a interesting study from World Economic Forum in 2020, talking about the future of jobs. If you look at the data prior to the pandemic, which is I would say the beginning of 2020, we can see actually the pace of technology adoption had been accelerated prior to the pandemic. And when the pandemic occurred, the adoption is still, the speed, the level of speed is still the same, and even accelerate in some areas. We can see that. And due to the COVID-19 recession, the organization needs to do some changes as well, because the customers also changed because of the pandemic. And now a lot of organizations, especially small medium enterprises, for example, they use IT or digital technologies more in their business processes. So in a way, these two phenomena create what it's called double disruption. So it's disrupted. So this is, I would say, give a background for the importance of digital business transformation, digital transformation. So this is data prior to the pandemic, as you can see. Yeah, it's quite big, the IT spending in Indonesia as well. Prior to pandemic, we aimed for as a largest digital economy in Southeast Asia by 2020. This is according to IDC, Indonesian Data Corporation, 2018, which is prior to the pandemic. The ICT expenditure in 2020 is around 394 trillion. And then the IT investments, technology will be focusing on the cloud, data analytics, and the center management. Now, this is also a prediction prior to the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, there are 10 prediction, 10 important IT in 2020 and beyond, according to IDC. And then we can have a look, just focusing on number 2 here, that it is predicted that digital transformation will occur at least 20% of all companies in Indonesia. This is prior to the pandemic. Now, I believe the figure now it's even higher than 20%, because as I mentioned before, there's a double disruption due to the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. Now let's talk about digital transformation. What is digital transformation? I took this definition from File 2019. He defined digital transformation as a process that aims to improve an entity by triggering significant changes to its properties through a combination of information, computing, communication, and connectivity technologies. So as you can see, that digital transformation is a process. Yeah. So this I highlighted some of the words. A process improve an entity. Yeah. So an organization, and then triggering significant changes to many things, like business processes, products, services, and so on. Well, there are a lot of definition of digital transformation. In fact, there are like 23 definitions. I took some of them here in this slide. I put it here. Other definition, DT is a planned digital shock to what may be a reasonable functioning system. Yeah. Another definition, enable major business improvement. And another one is result in change product or organizational structure or automation of processes. So, if you look at this, technology are being used as a leverage, as a leverage for accomplishing organization mission. Now, I just want to highlight that actually there's two different kind of term that we can have a look in this context. First, we may see the first definition here, IT-enabled organizational transformation, and there's another term which is called digital transformation, and this is actually two different definition. We can have a look from the property. So the trigger of IT-enabled organizational transformation is organizational decision. So it is internal decision. How, on the other hand, digital transformation, because society and industry trend happen out there, in the environment, and also organizational decision. So that's why, if you look at the double disruption that WEF mentioned before, why we are now looking at the digital transformation, because the trigger was coming from the society and industry trend, not from the internal organization. Now the target entity, it is a single organization, whereas for digital transformation, this is organization, platform, ecosystem, industry, and society. How about the means, the tools? For the IT enabled, this is single IT artifact, for example, IRP implementation, for example. On the other hand, when we look at digital transformation, we're talking about digital technologies. Digital technologies, let's say we call it, now it's technology 4.0, we're talking about social media, analytics, talking about maybe, like blockchains, artificial intelligence, and so on. The expected outcome, this is mainly for the internal business processes. Yeah. And then there's no problem with the existing institution. The impact only happen internally. On the other hand, digital transformation, well, we transform our business processes, and even our business model may also change because of all the factors happen in the environment. And also another thing also happen here, there's a transformation raise issue with regard to the relevance of current situation, like regulatory framework, ethics, and so on. So we look at, for example, like, a lot of companies now, they gather data from their website, from their mobile application, and so on, right? And we don't know for sure whether, this is against customers' privacy right or not, how they, whether they give consent over the use of data and so on. So it's totally different. And then we don't know, we don't have, or we need to do something with regard to the regulatory framework or the regulation, for example. All right, locus of uncertainty is only internal, whereas digital transformation is external first, located outside, and then next to the located inside. So what happened, now during the pandemic, because the changing consumer behaviors, small medium enterprise in this situation, they are being forced first by the environment. If they don't change the way they do business, for example, then they will not be relevant anymore for the customer. So that's why they need to change because of the driving force from the outside of the organization. And then after that, of course, we will continue with the internal changes. And the example would be, for example, like, this IT enabled to just implement ERP, right? Not just, you just change business processes internally, or maybe to some extent into our value chain network, for example. However, in digital transformation, we start with the consumer. Now they rely all of them using mobile device, social media to purchase goods and services, and then firm then will decide to capitalize on this trend, developing a mobile application, utilizing social media to engage with customer, and so on, using data analytics to to analyze all the data coming into their system, right? So this is, in a way, it's transform not only organization but also other part of the organization as well. Now let's have a look the more detail about digital transformation process. As we see, it triggered by the use of digital technologies, right? Social, mobile, analytics, Internet of Things, platform ecosystem. Let's say we're talking about 4.0, for example, right? And then also the COVID-19 pandemic also, triggered the use of digital technologies, and it disrupt the situation. Consumer behavior change, competitive landscape change, and also we've got plenty of data. So it should trigger companies, organizations to respond, right? And the response will be, in terms of digital business strategy or digital transformation strategy. And then, of course, they will, leverage all this technology to support their digital business strategy. And then next, what are the benefits of the changes? Well, they may improve the value proposition, changing their business model, like Netflix, for example, they change the value proposition, improve the value of network, digital channels. This is mostly used by small, medium enterprise. Sorry for the writing. So mainly small, medium enterprise use digital channels, and and also, give agility and ambidexterity. Now, however, organizations also need to pay attention to the barriers. So the inhibiting factors. What are the barriers? The barrier here is inertia. Inertia meaning, coming from the, the structure of the organization, the business processes within the company, and so on. Resistance may come from the employee. They resist to change a new system. Now, digital transformation requires other changes as well. It requires organizational structure change. They need to change organizational culture. They need to have leadership, and then they also need to have a skilled employee. Now, if you look at the small medium enterprise, this is one of the thing that probably SME should rely more, which is on the leadership. Yeah, so the owner of the small medium enterprise must take a lead in this situation. Now, what are the impact of the use of digital technologies for the organization? There are two. Positive impact. This is every organization wants to get this: operational efficiency, organizational performance, industry and society improvement, right? However, we also may have problem with security and privacy, because when most of our business process now move toward digital business processes, now anything bad happen into our IT resources will give problem to our business processes. And then also privacy, yeah, because now many companies, many businesses, they collect data from the customer, and then how about the privacy? All right, there's a study from Mandip Fala and Flanagan in Europe. They use 42 cases, small medium enterprises during a pandemic, and then what they found is the business owners tend to be domain expert. They know how to cook, they know how to cut hair, they know how to do things which is the core business of their company. A few day-to-day operation are outsourced, and then they have got limited digital know-how, do not have ongoing relationship with IT vendors, and then most of the benefit of digital transformation are focusing on the digital channels, which is to engage with customer, selling, and delivering, which I would say pretty much similar with what happened in Indonesia. How about in Indonesia? A study by Muditomo and Wahyudi in 2020. There are 64 million small, medium enterprise in Indonesia, and only 8 million MSME, or around 30%, are already connected. So we got problem or homework here in Indonesia, how to increase the digital readiness of our MSME. Now, most of the time, why SMA in Indonesia implement digital transformation? Because triggered by external driver. Because other competitor, they use online social media, commerce, and so on. Then they do not have a set of measurable milestone. Now, I would like to close my presentation with what accountants' roles during or post-pandemic. Well, as an accountant, we can help small medium enterprise to access government funding. We might help also provide help for SMEs to plan for success, understand financial position of the company, and then try to find a way to be a success in the future. Help the company to access tax break and benefit. There are a lot of tax break and benefit. Of course, build better processes. That's why now accountants should be knowledgeable in terms of IT knowledge or digital technologies, and spot opportunity. How accountant adapt in pandemic time? Well, we must invest or learn a lot in terms of technology, how digital business transformation help organization, For example, what is cloud computing? What are the benefits for the organization and so on. And then new digital relationship, I would say, this is something that the next speaker will highlight more. Adapted auditing, focus on vulnerable businesses, and stay ahead of the curve. Well, I think that's all from me, Pak Auki, that's all. And these are the references. Thank you very much.
Yes, terima kasih Pak Saiful for that insightful sharing. I'm definitely learning more, especially about digital transformation, and especially about how they differ from what you describe as IT-enabled organizational transformation. And I think this is something that not just SMPs, but also businesses and organizations need to understand. Participants, again, I would like to remind you, you can submit your question via the Q&A function. So the speakers and I will try to address them later during the Q&A. Now, last but not least, let us welcome Bapak Handoko Tomo. Bapak Handoko is the chairman of SMPs Committee of the Indonesian Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or IAPI. He is also the managing partner at public accounting firm ASEAN Handoko Tomo, member of Morse Rowland. Pak Handoko has an extensive experience in providing assurance and non-assurance services in various industries. Now, previously, Pak Handoko was an auditor for the Indonesian National Government Internal Auditor, or BPKP. Selamat datang, Pak Handoko.
Selamat datang, Pak. Terima kasih, Pak Uki.
Yeah, so while we wait for Pak Handoko to flash his presentation on screen, we will hear from Pak Handoko about the state of SMPs in Indonesia, as well as some examples on how government and IAPI are supporting these SMP. Silakan Pak, the next 20 minutes are yours.
Oke, terima kasih Pak Uki. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to deliver a presentation in this webinar to APA, IAI, and also CPA Australia. Let me share the presentation. Okay. Can you see?
Yes, Pak.
Okay.
Silakan, Pak.
Our top previously, our two speakers already explaining about the survey. Yeah? I think I would like. I will not explain about survey also because yeah, this is my turn to share about from perspective of the auditor. Maybe, yeah. We will discuss about the SMP, small medium practice. This is terminology, or what do you call it? The nomenclature for the audit firm, auditor, and then the other side, the small medium entities or small medium enterprise as auditee, counterparty of the auditor. And Saiful previously already discussed also about the micro and small medium entities. Yeah, in Indonesia, maybe Indonesian people like to, what do you call it? Yeah, like go into the deal, because at this moment we are previously only small sites, and then go to the lower level as micro entities. And then recently I got information there is lower than micro. They called it as nano, and maybe sometime will be go to the lower again, maybe to be atom, yeah, because yeah, smaller and smaller. We sometimes we don't know about what's the definition about the small medium size practice or small medium size entities. if we look at to the guidance from the IPAC, the fourth edition, the latest guide to using ISA in the audit of small and medium-sized entity. In the guidance, the small medium size practice SMP, it is as an accounting practice or firm that exhibit the following characteristic. Its clients are mostly small and medium-sized entity. Then maybe no micro, yeah, and also micro. And then external source are used to supplement limited in-house technical resource. And then it employs a limited number of professional staff. It is from the IPAC. In Indonesia, frankly, we don't have any classification. There are some classification, but we don't know. It will be formal, yeah, as a formal. For example, maybe in Ministry of Finance, they have classification the Big Four and then the Big Ten, and then the other of them. And then in IAPI, we don't have also any classification. If I discuss with my colleague in another country, yeah, it is various also the classifications. In some country, they only have the classification Big Four and non-Big Four. So SMP is non-Big Four. And then for small and medium-sized entity, SME, in the IPAC, they said other than listed entity. Small medium-sized entity, but in Indonesia, there is a listed entity as categorized as small listed entities. This is the difference between SMP and SMP. Sometimes there are confusing about which difference between SMP and SMP. OJK, the Financial Authority, or OJK, they establish a regulation concerning small listed entity. They said emiten skala kecil (ESK). The entity that has total asset not more than 50 billion based on the financial statement on document for registering purpose. So the OJK provide a facility for the small entities to be listed to conduct initial public offering, and then OJK provide some facility. For example, they consider about the cost when company want to be listed. Usually the cost will be so expensive. So OJK establish a regulation for the small entity. If small entity want to be listed, so some cost will be lower than the larger entity. And then not controlling direct or indirect by entity who are not small listed entity or medium listed entity, and or the total asset not more than 250 billion. For the medium listed entities, the total asset more than 50 billion, but up to 250 billion. Then the requirement to be listed for equity, if the entity want to conduct initial public offering, for the small listed entities only required to submit the 1 year financial statement, and then the financial accounting framework, they can use the SAK ETAP. It is in Indonesia. Indonesia now Indonesia has 3 pillars for the financial accounting framework. The Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard based on IFRS, convergent with IFRS, and then the middle, in the middle level, SAK ETAP for non-public accountability entities, and then the lower level micro. So for this small entity who want to be listed, OJK allow them to use the SAK ETAP for the financial reporting framework. For the medium, the requirement to submit 2 years the financial statement comparative, and then the financial accounting frameworks same with the larger entities using the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard. I don't have at this moment. I have not done any survey, but I got information about because if you look at in the Indonesian Stock Exchange, maybe you don't know which one as small entities, because in Indonesian Stock Exchange there is main board and then secondary board, the development, but it is not any identity about this, which one will be small or medium entities. But I got information from OJK, and then I have tried to look at the financial statement based on my observation. Even not in the regulation, the listed entities can use the SAK ETAP, but actually they use the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard, the higher level. And then if they use if the listed entities use the SAK ETAP, and then they do not need to follow all requirement in the BAPAM regulation regarding presentation and then disclosure about their financial statement. This flexibility from our regulator, Financial Service Authority, or OJK. Then from the Finance Profession Supervisory Center from Ministry of Finance, they provide a tool for auditor. Yeah. Previously, we talk about the SME. Now we talk about the SMP. Our regulator provide us application. They call it Atlas, and then this is free, can be downloaded from their website. And then at this moment, this is spreadsheet application. If we refer to Pak Saiful presentation, I don't know, yeah, maybe this is still ITS enabler, not yet moved to the digital transformation, yeah. But at this moment, the Finance Profession Supervisory Center developing the next version using the web-based application, using database, and then but still discussing about the database. Where is the database will be placed? Yeah, using cloud or using up to the SMP to choose which one they will put the database. I have suggested to the Ministry of Finance to provide cloud, so the Ministry of Finance know if they provide cloud, they can audit every time. Will be easier for them. But maybe only in Indonesia, yeah, because in another country usually based on my understanding and discuss with my colleagues in another country, no regulation, no government in another country provide the software to the profession. Yeah, this is audit software provided by the regulator, our regulator, Finance Profession Supervisory Center, or we call it PPPK, Pusat Pembinaan Profesi Keuangan in Ministry of Finance. And then in our in IAPI, SMP committee, we have conducted the webinar, yeah, to this is free of charge also to public, but based on the not directly all of function in the atlas we discuss, but we discuss based on step by step. Last month we discussed at the risk assessment, and next month, July, Tuesday, 6 July, will be discussed risk response. This is free of charge. Many people can join the webinar, and then we have also planned to provide the tutorial online, and then maybe if pandemic already, but at this moment we provide only online, yeah, not offline. But we have a plan to provide also the tutorial or the training offline free of charge also. Yeah. And then we hope the student in many university and then the lecturer will be have capability also to run the software. So it will be competitive advantage for the student if they will apply, for example, to work in the public account to the audit firm. This will be the competitive advantage for them. Atlas, this is very powerful, yeah, because we can this is already complete the step from the risk assessment until reporting. This is adapted from the ISA also, ISA guidance from the IAPI, but from the third edition, yeah, third volume, not already fourth edition, fourth edition. And if you look at in this from re-engagement, and then risk assessment, and then risk response, completing and reporting. So this is already completed. If you put all document and follow all step or procedure, so it will be what do you call it? Yeah, if the government, our regulator come to our office and then will audit our working paper. If we already use the atlas, maybe will be lower risk, yeah, for the public accountant, because already follow the atlas. Even though this is not guarantee, yeah. If you already use the atlas, completed all sheet, because this is as a tool, audit tool. It's depend on what you what do you call it, yeah, you fill in the software, and then the evidence, the audit evidence, because this is only a tool. It's easy for you, for example, only put the number, put the the procedure as already completed. But maybe if this is only you already complete the tick mark, but maybe we need to be careful, because if our auditor, our staff fill in the all procedure in the software, but maybe actually they have not done the procedure, but only tick mark and then fill in the software. We need to be careful as public accountant. Usually we need to be careful, and then in that, this is because this is the spreadsheet software, so limited, yeah, because only can use by one staff one time, not what do you call it, not multitasking. It usually in auditive there are some audit team member. If we use the atlas, so we need to appoint someone to fill in all audit procedure to the atlas. This is the limitation of atlas, but in the next version will be application, web-based application, so every audit team member can fill in their work and audit evidence based on their job. For example, if they have job as to conduct the audit to perform the audit procedure for the receivable and sales, and they can fill in the software, and then another team member, let's say, audit the expenditure cycle and account payable, so we'll be multitasking if in the next version. But in the atlas, this is because spreadsheet application, so we should be entry one by one. Yeah, it is maybe the limitation. But the web-based application will be launching before end of this year, and maybe not same with the atlas previously. Step by step, previously launching for the risk assessment, and then go to the risk assessment, and then finally completing and reporting. If I'm not mistaken, maybe need 2 years, yeah, to be completed. And then for the web-based application, maybe need maybe 2 years also. But this year will be, based on my information that I got from the person in charge in Ministry of Finance, they will launching the first step in this before end of this year. So this is very meaningful, yeah, for the auditor, because no need to write on the paper, yeah, everything just entry to the software, and then including the document, yeah, can attach the document, and then from the beginning, from pre-engagement until the completing the engagement and reporting, and then this is already follow the standard on auditing established by the Indonesian Institute of Certified Public Accountant, IAPI. This version, yeah, IAPI has published the draft revision, but not yet effective. Maybe next year will be effective, and then the software will be updated for the some standard, and then also maybe reporting, because the new reporting format now will be different with the old one. But it is not difficult to update, yeah, because this is already complete the software completed step from the pre-adjustment until the reporting. Very thank you for to the Ministry of Finance who provide this tool, yeah, the auditor. And then our regulator support, very support, because recently we discussed about the expert. They will facilitate to so we will have the some expert who can respond if member want to ask about the auditing standard, the financial reporting standard, including this atlas, and then about the entrepreneurship of the public accountant. So our regulator support us. So it is maybe presentation from me. Thank you very much for this opportunity for me to deliver presentation, and welcome to discuss anything relevant with my presentation or maybe another subject that we can discuss in this webinar. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, terima kasih Pak Andoko for that sharing. And I think Atlas is an excellent initiative, especially to equip our SMPs in Indonesia, ya Pak, with a practical tool that can support their audit practices. So it's good to see how the Indonesian government and also IAPI is supporting SMPs, particularly in Indonesia, Pak. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, SMP is without a doubt a key stakeholder in our region's economy. And for AFA, one of our key priorities is to contribute to the region's research capacity through thought leaderships and also discussions on topics relevant to particularly ASEAN SMPs and also SMEs. Now, in 2018, we published our first research report looking at the ASEAN perspective of institutional environment for SMEs and also roles for the accounting profession. We followed that with our second research report published just last December 2020 on ASEAN SMP technological competency skills. Now, that report identifies several key findings, including how SMPs included in the report view technology implementation as a significant challenge due to high investment costs and also insufficient technological knowledge and IT skills. Now, the report, as part of its suggestions, recommended for stakeholders to assist SMPs by focusing on areas that require crucial improvements to assist SMPs with their digital transformation journey. I will urge you to visit our website and download both reports. Now, as a follow-up to the 2020 report, AFA introduced the ASEAN SMP webinar series as a platform for mutual learning and sharing. Now, the series focuses on current issues relevant to ASEAN SMPs and also some of the solutions that our PAOs are offering to deal with these issues, with these challenges. Now, the first webinar was held earlier this year, looking at key findings and also recommendations from the 2020 report and recent initiatives introduced by PAOs to support SMP's digital transformation journey. Again, do visit our website to read an article highlighting some of the key takeouts from the webinar, or simply watch the recording of the webinar in our Facebook page. Now, finally, you can read more about our focus on SMPs in the upcoming AFA Connect Edition 7 to be published by the end of this month. So AFA Connect is our biannual publication highlighting some of AFA and our member organizations' key initiatives on current topics. This upcoming edition in particular will feature articles from our member organizations, ACCA, CNZ, and also GICPA of Japan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now let us go into our Q&A session and start diving into the questions that many of you have submitted. I can see a couple already. Speakers, please kindly keep your response brief and focused. I would like to start with perhaps and I will make reference to the first question in the Q&A function, but I will just try to expand that a bit. So I would like to start with this opening question addressed to all three speakers. So perhaps I will start with Kedi and then Pak Saiful and then finally Pak Handoko to respond to this question. So the first question to kickstart our discussion is this, speakers. So referring to the AFA 2020 report, the report identified costs and also lack of capacity or skills as major barriers for SMPs in adopting technology now. Do you agree with this, or can you think of other reasons behind the reluctance? Perhaps Katie first.
Thanks, Oki. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. It's consistent with the findings we found through our own research and also through IFAC SMP research. But as I touched on earlier in my presentation, I think there's a range of factors. So resources, capacity, knowledge, but also that fear factor. There's so much information and different things to consider. You know, not knowing where to start because there's so much overwhelming information can really mean it becomes one of those things that SMPs look to put on the back burner.
Thank you, Katie. Pak Saiful, perhaps?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, I think there are some factors that may make SMP reluctant to adopt technology. I would say first is about the knowledge of the business owner. Because of the lack of knowledge, maybe then they afraid to make any decision. As you can see, studies from one of the studies in the Europe, most of the SMP or business owners, they don't have functional business knowledge. Some of them, most of them, they are the business owners. So that would be that means they don't really know in relation to the IT knowledge. And another thing is I think the perception of that IT is expensive. We may see that it may be correct, but then there are a lot of range of we would say on open source or free software available for them to use. Like free social media, free web social media analytics, for example, that they can use actually. So yeah, I would say this, it's part of them is because of the lack of knowledge for the IT.
Thank you, Pak Saiful. Pak Handoko, perhaps.
Thank you, Pak Oki. Maybe depends on, I think I agree that it depends on the business owner. For example, in the SMP in the audit firm, maybe it's depend on the audit partner, because many staff, for example, in my office, many staff they don't have any reluctance, because and maybe they have more competency in the information technology, how to use in the social media, mobile application compared to the audit partner. And I have experience also when my student not public accountant, but he know about what everything that discussed in the mailing list, that the member only partner. When I asked him, how come you know about our topic, our recent discussion? Because the partner give him the access, so he can read all messages in the forum, the mailing list. That it is depend on I think depend on the business owner or the audit partner in the SMP, in the audit firm. If the audit partner will encourage the staff, and then for example, Atlas, if the audit partner ask the staff to use Atlas as a mandatory, even not from the Ministry of Finance, it is not mandatory. And even not maybe the audit firm already has another software, let's say, but how to compare the requirement, and then to compare the procedure in the audit software between audit another software and audit software that used by the audit firm, and then compare with the Atlas. I think will be difference, so will be effective. No more reluctance to to use the technology, because technology as a must. It is, if we do not use the technology, yeah, we cannot move. Yeah, we will have problem if soon or later we will have problem if we do not if we do not have any competency to use the technology. If I simple said from the IT as enabler now already move to digital transformation, yeah, soon or later we need to move also to digital transformation. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Pak Handoko. And I think we'll discuss more about that competencies and also the younger generation, the so-called millennials, Gen Z later on. But I would like to follow up that opening question with this couple of questions that we have received via the Q&A function, and I will try to ask the first one to Kedi actually, and I will try to rephrase this. I mean, we touch on cost, Kedi. As a potential, or even it's actually an identified barrier for SMPs to begin with their digital transformation journey. But some of you actually has alluded to some examples of I guess cost efficient tools or resources that SMPs can use or can refer to kickstart their digital transformation journey. Perhaps if you can share more about this, perhaps from the perspective of CPA Australia or even IFAC, if you have any information about this, Kedi.
I think one of the things you could do is be looking at those tasks within your business that are going to be repetitive or require a lot of manual input, and those sorts of things, and the costs that are associated with that, and then look at the cost of automating those or looking at applications that you could use to leverage that, because there will be an investment to do any digitization or automation within your practice. But if you're actually understanding what those sort of inputs and those costs are, and what the resource you're actually spending doing those through a manual task or repetitive task, you may actually find that upfront investment will repay itself quite quickly over time, and then actually start to add value within the practice.
Yes, thank you. I think that's a valid point and valid advice as well for those our SMPs who are dealing with this resource or cost constraint. I think in terms of having that cost benefit assessment will be a good way for them to start to try to assess the capacity and also the potential benefits that they may be getting in the future by automating some of those repetitive manual processes. And perhaps for the second question, I would like to ask this to Pak Handoko, Pak. So there's a question asked, Pak. So in terms of Atlas, are there any particular audit procedures that still cannot be replaced by Atlas? Or Atlas is pretty much a comprehensive audit supporting tools that our SMPs in Indonesia can use?
Atlas is already completed, but maybe, yeah, but there are some audit procedures should be done by the physically, yeah, because it is Atlas only enter the audit procedure, and then the for example the inventory, cash opnam, yeah, we need to perform the procedure physically and then put the result into the software. Cannot do by the Atlas, yeah. Maybe different, I don't know, is there any software that can yeah, this is remote audit, yeah, we talk about the remote audit. Is there any software when we will perform the physical inspection inventory to another city, for example, because pandemic, and then using the yeah, webcam or whatever lah, and then directly integrated into audit software? I don't know at this moment, yeah. But what we should do physically, yeah, we should do physically, and then the audit evidence will be uploaded to the software. Yeah, it is. So maybe it is the question. Not all audit procedure will be provided in the Atlas because we need to perform the audit procedure physically, and then the audit evidence will be put into the software. Maybe it is the answer.
Yes, thank you, Pak. And I think one of the things that I can add to that is that having the exposure to the region, especially, I think it is quite a privilege for SMPs in Indonesia to actually have such thing as Atlas or something, a tool that is being established by the stakeholders to support SMPs in Indonesia. So I think Atlas is a good start for many SMPs. It's a good reference for many, a good resources, especially in terms of those SMPs who are resource restricted. So Atlas is free to use. So that's a good tool for SMPs in Indonesia to use. So thank you for that information, Pak. And just something that out of curiosity, perhaps this is just a follow-up question to my first question actually. And I would like the three speakers to respond to this. So Kedi, Saiful, and then Pak Handoko, right? I mean, do you think the appetite for SMPs to change and adopt technology differ before and now during the pandemic?
I think it has, only because a lot of it has been a forced move and something to consider in the practice. I'm actually in Metro Melbourne, so Victoria, Australia, and we've had extended lockdowns over 18 months and one recently we're still coming out of restrictions. And we've seen primarily through that time that members in this space have had to work remotely. So they've had to rethink on the go, basically their technology strategy, because we had many members that would contact us and say, I don't have the cloud capabilities, I don't have the server capabilities to be servicing my clients and helping my staff work from home. And they've had to invest and think about how they can do that. And now we've got ongoing lockdowns, unfortunately, now in some other states. It means you have to invest so you can be adaptable. Otherwise, you're going to be caught out. You won't be able to service those clients, and then you're going to be impacted because your clients might go elsewhere.
Thank you, Kedi. Pak Saiful, you share the same observation, especially for Indonesia?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Oki. Yeah, I think, it's, COVID pandemic is a disruptive situation, right? It changed the way customers, do their day-to-day daily activities. They cannot go shopping offline and so on. So obviously, when the customers change, then the business, they don't have option, right? Then they also need to change. Otherwise, they are not relevant. They will, cannot survive in this situation. So I think it's a must for small medium enterprise to adapt with the changing situation. That's why, this is, one of the idea of digital transformation is, the force is coming from the environment rather than the internal. So whether they like it or not, they must change. And then now with regard to the, let's say the resources or the money that they need to help them to provide like online access to the customers, I think they might start with a digital digital commerce first, like providing using social media. There are a lot of I see a lot, increasing small medium enterprises doing engagement with customer using social media, which is I would say free, right? We don't need to subscribe for that, and it's quite effective because let's say in Indonesia we use a lot of WhatsApp, for example, and then maybe they also using Instagram for engaging with the customers, for advertising, keeping relationship with the customer, selling, and also maybe delivering their products. So I would say that it's a must and from the studies that I read, they change because it's being forced by the situation.
Yeah. Yes, Pak. I agree with that. Pak Handoko, anything to add, Pak?
Yeah, I think the situation in pandemic, it is the constraint not only from the auditor side, but also in the client side. Let's say if auditor want to come to the client office, but if client said no, please try to look at another alternative procedure. As an auditor, we need to find an alternative procedure. Or maybe some client requested the auditor before coming to their office should be done swab test. Can you imagine if every day you come to the client office and then you need to get the swab test antigen, or let's say it will be yeah, it is this pandemic. We we need to find another solution, but we cannot say only say no, cannot like that. We need to try to find another solution how to complete the audit procedure, how to perform the audit procedure with many constraints, but we should complete the audit procedure. For example, previously we come to the client office to make copy of the document. Now we can ask the client only send the document using the cloud, for example, or Google Drive, and then we can look at the document in our office, and then we just need to come to the client office if we already have a plan to select another sample, and then to see the evidence physically. So we'll be what do you call it? This pandemic give us the learning to perform audit more efficient.
Yeah, we're definitely adapting to the situation, Pak.
Yeah.
I think we can see that in many different aspects of our life now.
Yeah.
We're about more about 18 months now into the pandemic, so we have definitely seen many changes.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sure many of us are familiar with the saying, every cloud has a silver lining. I mean, many have said that the pandemic has, without a doubt, accelerate technology adoption, perhaps even digital acceptance and literacy, not just at the business level, but also at the individual level. So, Pak Handoko, I will stick with you, Pak. So, your presentation highlighted the relationship between SMP as the auditor and SMP as auditee, Pak. And I will make a reference to one of the findings from our 2020 research report. So basically, it's that a key driver for SMPs to adopt technology is the demand from their clients, who are predominantly SMEs. So based on your observation, is this true for SMPs in Indonesia? And I will invite Kedi and perhaps also Pak Saiful later to add if they have anything to add. I will start with Pak Handoko first. Do you think this is true for SMPs in Indonesia, Pak?
Maybe some experience, our team member committee in SMP committee she go to the tech office how to what do you call it, because previously the tax office provide any information, for example, new regulation to the taxpayer, but not many taxpayers will want to come to the tax office, and then they have another strategy. So ask the taxpayer, the small and micro and small medium taxpayer, ask them to come to the tax office, not discuss about the regulation, not discuss about the new tax regulation, but give them the place or the instructor how to make marketing using the marketplace, internet, and then how to use the media social, let's say WhatsApp, and then how to share their product using the technology, and then it is so many micro and small medium taxpayer get benefit and then when they get benefit from the what do you call it, the training free of charge, and then step by step they they want to pay the tax, yeah, and then they publish that they already pay the tax in their group using, let's say, social media, and it is they get benefit from the technology. I think yeah, I think depend on our approach. Yeah, if we can use the right, what do you call it? Yeah, what they need, and then we provide. I think using technology, they will accept. Yeah, because they can get benefit. They can what do you call it? Yeah, it is the reality. They get benefit, and then they can, for example, the accounting software free. There is a mobile application for the small medium sized entity for how to enter entry. It's easy. Let's say they buy the product, they put, yeah, in the mobile application, and then when they sell the product, they put, and then directly they get information, profit and loss. No need to understand about debit or credit journal entry. This is usually a headache, yeah, for the student when they study about the accounting, debit and credit. No need to understand about the credit, but in the software they can entry how much they buy the inventory, and then how much they get sales. It's easy, and then free. The software free of charge. So many provider for the small, micro and small size entity, and then step by step, yeah, we have IAPI already deliver training for the micro and small size entity, cooperation with the Ministry of Economic. So many participants, more than 100. It is they said it is very meaningful for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good to hear, Pak. And I think that's definitely some good insight examples of how technology is being used, not just for SMPs but for also the SMEs as the clients. But perhaps, Kedi, let me just go to Pak Saiful first, just to stick with this Indonesian context. I will go to you if you had anything to add. Pak Saiful, I mean, in term of this driver, I mean, SMEs demand as a driver for SMPs to adopt the technology. I mean, is that something that you see based on your observation, Pak?
Sorry, are you saying that due to the changing environment or what?
The SME demand. So based on our AFA research report, one of the key driver for SMP to adopt technology is actually the demand from the SMEs, as predominantly their clients are SMEs, right? So is that something that you see in Indonesia as well?
Well, I'm not really sure about that point, but maybe I'd like to add from another perspective, adding to what Pak Handoko just mentioned. You know, like now, you know, with the advance of cloud computing, right, and a lot of mobile application available free of charge, which help, you know, a lot of small medium enterprise, you know, helping them for, let's say, for the accounting or selling, you know, helping them in their POS, point of sales. Like, for example, like I don't know, bukawarung.com or other kind of startup which provide help to small medium enterprise in helping, let's say, you know, administrating their financial and also accounting purposes. Now this is very easy for them, right? And this is something that, you know, like I think not possible like when we talk like 5 or 10 years ago, right? So in that sense, you know, I would say the now it's becoming maybe their needs to access that because it's easy, it's cloud-based, easy to use, like Pak Handoko mentioned. They don't need to know debit and credit, and they can straight away get the what is it, the report of their performance, like about their sales, today's sales, this week's sales, last month, and so on. And then maybe some other features like key performance indicators report that provided by the application. So now I think in that situation, I think it's no wonder, like a lot of SME, trying to move toward digital business processes, because the advance of cloud computing, which provide, cost-effective for them to use software, which is not maybe, they cannot do it like when we talk about, like maybe 10 years ago when there were a lot of provider of cloud computing based application. I think that's that I can add.
Okay, yeah, sure, Pak Saiful. Kedi, your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to consider. I think there's definitely a changing client demand. And I think, the ease of information, the access to information and the want of information now. So that digitization technology solution is really important to that. But I think the other thing that will actually see that demand will actually be the technology fluency of the client. So if depending on your client base, if you've got a client base that may be not as familiar with technology, maybe not as needy as having the data straight away and things like that, you may not see that drive coming through, but you'll have other members or professional accountants who will definitely have progressive clients who will be looking to be on the forefront. What's coming next? What do I need to know? And that means you need to have that information and, that solution. So I think you'll definitely see that increasing, especially as we have younger generations come through who are more demanding of that information. There will definitely be a need to keep up to date so you can actually service those clients and be sustainable.
Yes. Thank you for that, Kedi. And I would like to just for this next question, just to move slightly to the transformation part of our discussion. And perhaps I will stick with you, Kedi, and Pak Saiful, if you have anything to add to this. I mean, many studies and discussions on the future of our profession, they made reference to the need for our practice to perhaps focus less on assurance and perhaps more on advisory services. So basically, diversification of services. I mean, I would like to perhaps hear your thoughts on this. I mean, especially in the context of our SMPs. Kedi.
So in Australia, we already have seen a large shift from mainly audit and assurance type based businesses into more business advisory tax type areas. So if you're looking in Australian base, you would have more members working in that tax advisory space than you will in audit and assurance. But we're also seeing from our client research that clients are actually wanting that advisory. They're wanting the proactive. So what we're trying to do is support members by saying, well, you already have all this information from your client. If you're doing their compliance, their accounting, their tax work, even to some degree auditing, depending on your skill set, you have all this information for your client. How do you use that to then be proactive and look forward rather than always using it to be reactive and looking backwards? So, it's certainly a trend we're seeing here. And it's certainly an area that we're seeing a lot more demand from members wanting to move into that space because they can see that's what their clients are needing, not so much in terms of large areas now, but certainly in 3 to 5 years, that's definitely going to be where their client needs are sitting.
Yes, thank you, Kedi. Pak Saiful?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Oki. I'd like to cite a study by the WEF, World Economic Forum. There was a report saying that like 20 declining jobs in 2025 and beyond. This is like 20 declining jobs, and there's another 20 emerging jobs. And when we look at the 20 decreasing demand of the job, we can have a look. Number 2 is bookkeeping, and then payroll clerk, and on number 3, accountant, an auditor, right? On the other hand, if you look at the 20 emerging jobs, which will be getting more and more demand in the future, in the next 2 or 3, 5 years and beyond, number one is data analytics or business or big data analytics and other emerging technologies. So if you look at those, report, and this is also consistent with other reports, we tend to see that there's a declining like a demand for traditional auditor job, which is providing assurance. Because I would say, the business process of auditing has changed. Auditors use a lot of technology, which may also save auditors hours. They can do it more effectively, efficiently, and then it is just because of regulatory required that they need to have this kind of report. And another thing, I would say, the businesses out there, they need more value from auditor or accountant, and they want to get more benefit from their IT investment. There are a lot of IT progress in a recent, IT. I would say, let's say, of technology 4.0, like data analytics, distributed ledger, blockchains, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, social media, and so on. So, those companies, they see that these technologies, have very helpful for them, improving their business processes. And then, and I see that, this is a business issue rather than technical issue. So they don't know, or they want help, from other people or other parties in this situation. I would strongly suggest accountant to help them, giving them more advice how to leverage these technologies, recent technologies, how to help them improving their business processes, being more competitive in the future, and so on, rather than focusing on the traditional job of an auditor. So I would say, the future of accountancy as a knowledge, as a discipline, will be lay on the value that we can provide to the business organization as a consultant, rather than as an auditor, rather than as maybe like accountant, internal accountant. But we will like bridge between business people needs and IT people. I would say that that is our position in the future. Thank you.
That's a good positive point of view, Pak Saiful. Pak Andoko, our auditor of the panel, your response to that, Pak?
Yeah, I think if we see the trend, for the traditional accounting, traditional auditing, maybe will be less in the future, because everything will be organized by the technology, information technology, digitalization. But I think the role of auditors still exists. Why? Even though we use the technology, how to make sure the technology on the right track, and then I'm not sure how fast we can move, because for example now in Indonesia, everything we need to for example, everybody know using Zoom, Zoom, Team, or online meeting. The problem is infrastructure. For example, in our in my home my daughter study online, and then my in the university, and then in the kindergarten also already online. And then we have many meeting online, everybody online. But in the infrastructure, we still have limitation, sometimes, because for example, you use Wi-Fi, but there is limitation. For example, I have backup. If something happen with my Wi-Fi, I will tethering with my handphone. My handphone using another operator cellular. It is a backup. I think yeah, for the traditional profession, maybe will be the CPA in the future because already the environment will be changed. But the function, the role, I think still exists, but maybe different. What do you call it? Yeah, how to conduct our job or profession. Yeah, we need to follow the environment. If environment already changed, we need to change. If we don't do it, if we don't want to change, we will disappear. No job. I think it is the challenging for us. Yeah.
Okay, can I just make, sorry, I was just going to make an observation of that and say,
Sure,
I think there's always going to be a need for the audit profession, right? We have international auditing standards, there's legislative requirements around audit obligations. There's always going to, and there'll be emerging areas of audit that will come through that we may not have even thought about at the moment. That will certainly be areas for the profession to think about. I think one of the things to look at though is, if you want to be a sustainable small to medium practice, can audit be your only area of expertise in a market which is rapidly changing? And, I think that goes to some of the things we're talking about here, is that, there is a need to think about the future and maybe about diversifying some of those services. So audit may be a core function of your practice and it may be very important, but are there other areas that you should be thinking about more around these advisory type areas that you can have that value added in to get that connection with your SME clients, so you do have that sustainability if things do change and technology does put some of those pressures around automation and have the value work around auditing.
Yes, thank you, Katie, and I agree with that. And so this is, I think this is more on the surface, not the profession. I think the profession will be there. I mean, the accountancy profession, we're a profession that has that strong foundation through our code of ethics, our skill set and everything that we have can help businesses in terms of undergoing this transformation and everything. But yes, SMPs in particular need to understand that times are changing, so they need to better understand the demand for the SMEs, from their stakeholders as well, and in terms of diversifying their services from what predominantly has been assurance services to more what Pak Saiful Ali has mentioned is the more the more value-adding services, advisory services, and so on. So thank you for that, speakers. For the next question, I would like to refer to something that Pak Handoko has actually alluded to in his sharing, and I would like to ask this particularly to Katie and then Pak Saiful. I mean, let us talk about our young generation, our millennials, our Gen Z, technologically savvy generation. So we've been talking about how technology is an inseparable part of our life, especially their life, this younger generations. So how important is it for SMPs to engage with this next generation of accountants? At the same time, we've heard how many of our younger generation are, I guess, less interested to enter the profession now. So perhaps I would like to hear from Katie first and then Pak Saiful.
Yeah, and it's a great observation and it's a great question. I think there's two parts to that. One is, if you want to actually attract that next generation and we want the profession to actually have these people coming through, we have to think about how we can set ourselves up to be employees of choice and really attracting that. But also as the profession and representatives of the profession, we need to think about how we can emerge and actually have it to be more of an attractive, exciting career. The role of the traditional accountant has changed and is going to continue to change. So how can we actually think about what the future roles are and entice these young professionals into, what is a great profession and with so many diverse, so many areas and a diversity of skill sets. So I think that's one thing. I think the other great thing about the Gen Z coming through is they are your ready-made technology experts. These guys are coming into your practices and they know technology and they've lived and breathed it from, nearly their early school days, and they've grown up with it. So there's a real opportunity for SMPs to leverage that technology skill set within their practice and actually learn from that generation to actually help build that strategy, make them your experts, understand what they can teach you. And it's almost like reverse mentoring. They're bringing something to your practice that you may not have otherwise actually had access to. So it's a real opportunity.
Pak Saiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about the the what is it the popularity of accounting as a major choice in university. I've been observing, if maybe it's not accurate, but it seems like there is a decreasing in terms of interest for young or young student or younger generation to get in this kind of major in a university. I think one of the things is because in education department or section, I think in Indonesia especially we have big homework. Yeah, we need to, I would say we need to upgrade and improve our curriculum in relation to the accounting. If based on my research in terms of accounting program readiness to embrace technology 4.0, I think maybe less than 20% of the accounting program are already embraced the technology and then integrated the materials in their curriculum. So that's one thing that may I would say like maybe this younger generation see that this program is not really exciting because it's not truly reflect what has been happening in their environment. And then there's another homework that that our education also need to address, which is how to reskill our lecturers. Yeah, because new curriculum requires new knowledge, new skills, and we have big problem with that. How to reskill or upgrade the knowledge and skill of those lecturers, and then being ready to embrace the progress of technology into their accounting courses. So if we have it, I think if we manage to, let's say, address these kind of homeworks, I would say in the future, like we should see more increasing intention from the younger generation to join our profession in the future, because I believe accountant is the most important part in company, because we ensure that we know the performance of the company, and then what are the factors that impact our performance and so on. So we have a unique position in company, and if we if you're not ready with the changing situation, maybe we cannot no longer provide relevant value to our companies or industry out there. So that's it, like, so that's the thing that we need to address. But I believe that as a profession, accountant or auditors is still there due to regulation as well, like unless listed companies, they don't need to have audited financial statement, then that would be a big problem for us, right? But apart from that, I think we can add more value, like I said, being a consultant or business consultant to all the companies that want to get benefit from the progress of technology.
Yes, thank you, Pak. Thank you, Pak. I like how you keep emphasizing on the importance of value, providing value to our stakeholders or clients. Now, let me take up on that and then try to link this to one of the questions that we received from the Q&A. And this is coming from Pak Bimantara. Terima kasih, Pak. So this tech-savvy generation, if we see them as one of the solutions to bridge the gaps in skills, capacities for SMPs to adopt technology, right? And then the question is, I mean, what the government or regulator, so say that the government regulator is another key stakeholder in this discussion. I mean, what do you think the government and regulator could do to help to expedite this digitalization of the SMPs? Let me just start with KD first.
I can't speak directly for what I think the Indonesian government should do, but I know looking at other countries, for example, Singapore, they've got a significant investment in their talent to actually support them to actually help digitize. We have seen here in Australia some financial commitment as well to actually help businesses adapt technology and go on that transformation path. So I think there's definitely a role for governments to think about how they can support their advisory professions and their accounting professions and their small businesses digitize, because it's actually going to give them benefits back to their local and their country economy. But it does require an investment.
Thank you, Kedi. Anything to add, Pak Saiful first, and then Pak Handoko, just briefly, Pak.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to, there's a study from McKinsey in 2018 about the rate of technology 4.0 implementation in ASEAN, in Asian countries. And in terms of what is it? Believe, like most of the managers, like 75% of them, maybe more than that, believe that technology 4.0, truly impact the way their business, right? And then they can leverage those technology for improving their business performance. However, on the implementation side, there were only like 13%. Yeah, 13% of them already implemented. That was in 2019 data. Now, I don't know with small medium enterprise in Indonesia. I think we have even bigger problem. Because of the what is it? The characteristic of small medium enterprise, like lack of fund, lack of knowledge from the business owners, and other limitation. So I would say, government should play a bigger role in this situation. And then I've seen, like during this pandemic, I've seen our government already started like Kartu Prakerja, for example. This is also very good to help those people, small medium enterprises, and how to learn about digital technologies, how to help them digitalize their business processes. So this is very good, but I think a more comprehensive and more calculated role should be also to be implemented in the future. I agree with Kedi. Singapore is one of the best example when managing their small medium enterprises. So they are very considerate. They're very careful, and then even selecting those SME which has a good prospect in the future, and then they sort of manage them individually. So of course, Singapore is in terms of size is not comparable with Indonesia, but I would say to some extent Indonesia can do this kind of help for our SME as well. I think not only government can play in this situation. I think to some extent technology vendor also can help our SMEs, technology vendors. And also profession like EIE or EAPI can also play important roles. AFA and CPA, for example, can play a role in this situation because obviously they need help, and then many helps coming from many sources is a good situation. I think that's from me.
Definitely collective efforts from all the stakeholders of the profession, Pak Saiful Ali. Now, in the interest of time, let me just cut there and let me just go briefly to the two questions from our Q&A. And Kedi, let me just give these two questions to Pak Saiful and then Pak Handoko, and I will get back to you with other question. The first question, perhaps this is, let me just share this with Pak Saiful first. So these two questions actually more towards the SME rather than the SMP. So Pak Saiful, this question, Pak, government has made effort to support SME go digital and now has been 13% SMEs through campaign called Bangga Buatan Indonesia. Now, maybe you can share just one priority that you can think to help boost and support SMEs during this pandemic time, Pak, based on your observation, Pak.
Yeah, okay. It's a good question. Well, I would say, the first thing is not about capital. I think it's not about capital, but I would say about knowledge. Yeah, how to give them, good knowledge about how to maybe innovate their product or services, and then how to manage their supply chains, and also product quality. Because I think most of the time when our SME being asked what government can help for you, always, the answer that they give always capital. Yeah, I don't think it's not only about capital. I see a lot of businessmen, they went bankrupt, but because of the characters of the person, they can stand up and then be success in the future. So I would say, that would be the thing that maybe should be given as a priority for the SME in Indonesia.
Okay, Pak Handoko, just briefly, Pak, perhaps this question I can ask to you, Pak. I mean, how can SMP help assure SME that preparing financial reporting is not a daunting activities? What do you usually do, Pak, as an SMP?
Yeah, if we talk about the SMP as audit firm and then as a SME as the client, we need to have the relationship. For example, we need to understand, for example, the micro entity, let's say, already use the mobile application software, and then we need to understand about the software, and then it will be easier to, if the client want to have the audited financial statement. Yeah. So no breach the independency because it is a different party. And then the government, I think I agree, should be collective, collective effort, because if we talk SME, every ministry in Indonesia has the, what do you call it, division or to manage SME. Even not in the state-owned enterprise, BUMN, they have CSR program PKBL, how to help the small medium using the provided the soft loan to the SME. But previously they want to have the one central data. But if I understand, until now it cannot be completed. Because in Indonesia maybe difficulty in coordination. We need to have good coordination. For example, SMP through association has good relationship with the government, and then with the university also, how they can keep, let's say, will be link and match, yeah. The university and the audit firm, for example, SMP as audit firm. And then there's the client, the SME. And then we for example, previously, the Ministry of Cooperation, we help them how to what do you call it, yeah, to have the corporation, small corporation, to understand about how to prepare the financial statement, and then if they can prepare the financial statement, maybe don't need to be audited first. Maybe the lower level limited review, limited assurance, and then will be if already mature, and then can go to the audited financial statement. So step by step. But the problem, I think, how to do as a collective effort. Yeah, we need to work together between all parties if we want to be successful. Yeah. If not, yeah, we'll be separate and then will not be successful. If including the technology, maybe with the Ministry of Information and Communication, they can help us. Yeah, I think it is the solution. Yeah, if we want to boost, yeah, to boost the effort to help the SME and SMP. It is.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Pak. I think those are some valid points. And I think I'm looking at the time now, and I think we are at the end of our session. We do have one final question from the Q&A function that we need to address. I do have, actually, I also have a question that I would like to ask to our panelists, but I think let's just go with that final question from the Q&A function. And let me just rephrase that a bit. It's talking about the future, basically. So how can PAO support university in terms of adopting their curriculum to better prepare our future accountants? So we're talking about the students. So it's about equipping our future accountants with the right skills. I mean, obviously, we can use this sort of a momentum of demography benefit, especially our millennial students, to be ready to deliver proper financial and decision-making solutions based on the technology for our SMEs in Indonesia. But Kedi, you could also share your perspective on this. Let me just start with Kedi, Pak Saiful, and Pak Handoko, just briefly, just to close this session. Thank you.
So we know that their skill sets need to change to be relevant in the future, and that's been picked up quite a bit through this presentation and through the Q&A. I think one of the challenges with universities is it takes some time to change the curriculum, so it really is a future-focused project. But I think the role of PAOs like CPA Australia is to have those conversations and help actually guide those changes so that we can actually ensure that those qualifications are relevant qualifications for the future.
Thank you, Kedi. Pak Saiful, briefly, Pak.
Yeah, I think it's would be a strategic, alliances from professional association, yeah, with the university, because through the Campus Merdeka program, for example, the students can go for internship in the professional association program. They can provide some kind of access to their members of the organization, for example, so that the student can get field experience, how to work as a accountant or consultant, for example, and and also they can also be as a join make a joint class in the university, in which the instructor consists of the lecturers from the university and the consultant or professional from the professional association. But one thing that we need to ensure is that the professional association should ensure that that they are all already that they are ready with the changes that has been happening, because if they don't fully aware with the changes, and then it will be disadvantage for the students at the end if they are not they are themselves ready with the changing. Okay, that's from me.
Pak Handoko, briefly, Pak.
Yeah, IAPI also offer to the university to do some subject or course in the university, and if they don't have any resource, so IAPI can provide the resource about the trainer, and then I think it is very very useful, yeah, because the lecture, if the lecture only teach, yeah, based on the textbook, but in the reality the practice is very very many changes in the standard also. No standard every year there is any annual improvement. Maybe if you read the one textbook, no, next year already revised the textbook, yeah. So changes very every years will be any changes. So it's very very we need to have good relationship between university and the association, and it is very 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 grateful, yeah, excellent if we can do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. And the only constant in life is change. So I think that's a good conclusion to our discussion this afternoon. And thank you, speakers, for that excellent sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, Bapak dan Ibu, I guess that's the end of our discussion. On behalf of AFA, I would like to once again thank our speakers, Kedi, Bapak Saiful, and Bapak Handoko. Our appreciation also to CPA Australia, IAI, and IAPI for the opportunity to collaborate in this webinar. Thank you, and over to you, Mbak Monica.
Thank you, Bapak Oki, Pak Handoko Tomo, Pak Saiful Ali, and Ibu Kedi Waller for your time and your sharing. I hope that it will give a benefit to our participant today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of the session. The material for the session could be downloaded on IAI website. The link is on the chat box and your screen right now. We would like to also invite you to join our survey at the end of this program. The survey will be popped up on your browser right after you log out from the webinar room. So after you log out, the survey will be popped up. You could go to your browser, take 1 or 2 seconds to finish the survey, and that's all. On behalf of IAI, CPA Australia, IAPI, and AFA, we would like to deliver our sincere gratitude to all the panelists, moderator, and the participant. Thank you for joining us. I'm Monica Nabilia. Please stay safe, stay healthy. Hope to see you in another event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, terima kasih.
Thank you all, good discussion.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Pak
Pak
Oki.
Handoko, Pak Ali.
Thank you, Pak Ali,
Pak
Pak
Oki.
Handoko,
Thank
Kedi.
you.
Kedi.
Thank
Very
you.
good one.
Pak
Pak
Handoko,
Edward.
Kedi,
Pak Isnaini.
semua.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Handoko.
Thank you,
Thank you, Pak
everyone.
Saiful.
Terima kasih, Pak Isnaini.
Terima kasih,
Kita
Pak.
semuanya selalu sehat.
Pak Isnaini,
Bye.
terima kasih.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima
Bu
kasih
Linda,
Bu
terima
Linda,
kasih, Bro.
Prof. Linda.
Terima kasih.
Salam sehat.
Lip ya.
mic-nya tadi kan?
Bapak dan Ibu, ruangan Zoom ini akan kami tutup dalam hitungan ketiga. 1, 2, 3.